were like, we're taking you with us now. You're ours.
Vice came in, like you said, there was a little bit of the roster apocalypse trying to find the right lineups, but the fact is they've come out golden. All these players have experience, they have potential, and there is a very good shot in for them. But what a first draw, Virtus Pro.
Part of you's got to be like, you don't want to avoid a team to go through these brackets, especially when everybody's goal is the same, to make top 3, to make the grand finals, to go from that point onwards. But the one thing is, Virtus Pro are exceptional and have never lost in mirrored bans. It's this draft system that I think screwed them over the most. It took a while to adjust. Maybe because they were stubborn to try to pigeonhole their way of playing into a system where a lot of people were exploiting the meta and taking out strategists. So this draft is going to be very interesting. All of the teams are watching to see what Virtus Pro's about to do here.
EMEA's going to be taken away by Vice. The Ultron already removed early. We're once again highlighting a lot of these triple strategist heroes as one-sided Ultron available for Vice. Jeff available for Virtus Pro. They could, in theory, ban it if they want to one-sided Jeff themselves, but with Ultron already on the board, is that where they wish to go with this drafting style?
I could grow as a couple of areas to just pull people off the map, but I'm just going for some of the other options. When you have such a focus going on the one-sided Ultron, Virtus Pro are going, okay, they're going to want to try and play triple strategist. We're going to take out all of the strategists if we can. But now that this ban comes in together, I'd imagine that it would probably be that supportive role that keeps getting hit. Maybe some of the vanguards, and yeah, Emma Frost at least going to be taken out, so it's not available on either side.
Both teams banning Emma, both teams banning Mantis currently. One-sided Luna available for Virtus Pro, but with the opportunity for Vice to take that away in the final ban phase if they wish to. They're going to protect the Invisible Woman with Luna removed. They want to make sure that they have one of these big healing output characters. Invisible Woman, though, is a character the Virtus Pro have very much enjoyed in previous seasons and have leaned on quite heavily.
Yeah, I mean, again, it felt like mostly to deal with some of those like flying characters, like if a Venom comes in, just the force physics gets so much value for such a cheap economy. It's the ability you get very, very quickly, frankly. But we do see that one-sided Jeff, and really it's sort of making me think, how did we get to this point where one-sided Jeff is something that we're discussing in a draft, right? But quite frankly, Jeff has a lot of value, especially in domination modes where you can get a bit of that speed boost as well to kick in with.
You see the final setups here. Phoenix getting taken out quite late in this draft. Luna Snows. One ban, one protect, so we're going to get that one-sided. Dridrome is currently hovering on the Mr. Fantastic. I feel he may be trolling, as that would be unusual. This whole draft, there's a Thor, which we have been seeing potential hovers around. Vice, on the other hand, looking at that Namor Hulk, which we talked about at the beginning, and then stopped seeing for the entire rest of the day.
Yeah, I mean, usually, I learned this from other games, you never look at the characters when they've been selected in Spawn, but certainly with the Angela being actually picked up by Crazy Kitty, it almost feels like, okay, I can't really say that verbatim because there are some teams to pull it through.
Just have hope.
Yeah, but we do get to see a battle of champions, at least from the last two Marvel Rivals champions in EMEA. The last two winners played up against each other. There's a lot of asterisks and context added on top of that. But the expectation is clear. Virtus Pro, in these kind of games, they typically don't make mistakes, but we know them to make mistakes. So who knows exactly what's going to happen and what they're going to be willing to show. Yeah.
That is the question. Vice also were a team who have all this experience but have not shown too much. So they are the question mark. What do they have with this new roster? Knudsen, usually, we've seen them before on the Iron Man, one of their most legendary clips. They have decided to take it one generation down. They moved over to the Ultron.
And Alligator, I do remember him playing a lot of Namor in Invitational for LG, but it has been a while. Cobwebs may be attached to him when playing at this kind of level, and very different draft system for him that he's had to be able to deal with. But you have got the flexibility of Nevix moving in over onto the Venom. Those Vanguards are very much strong in a combination. But everything else is just that triple strategist, something the Virtus Pro were maybe a little bit reluctant to move to whenever they could. Happy to pull it in with a Jeff.
Buy on that, giving them the extra sustain they can. They've got the Venom Jeff. Of course, Nevic's going to be having a lovely time. Virtus Pro did not play a lot of Jeff for a while last stage. Now they're finally going to get to bring it out to their best ability. Knuten dropping the range of Ultron, but Lugia's already fallen, as has Missouri, meaning the front line is evaporating. Knuten is just pinging away at a full team, while their front line is no one left to protect them or stand on the point. Those Gamma Squids doing some damage, but they can't find purchase.
It's such a weird fight. It was like maybe, what, 2-3 eliminations total, and it's been 2 minutes, I think, of rolling. But Virtus Pro are just so reserved and coordinated, right? They get control of the point. They don't need to overextend. They have great ultimates now that they're just sat on, pretty much all 6 ready to go. There's no pressure on them currently. Vice is still trying to scramble whatever they can get, and whilst that Rage of Ultron was good to try to stem the bleeding for Vice, it's just Sparker cleaning up house off the back of one of the 6 ultimates. It's a complete clean wipe and almost 50% on the board already, Tetcher.
This is so familiar, seeing Sparker on this Star-Lord, picking people off one by one. This is Season 0, Season 1 stuff. Absolute domination. I agree with this little guy. I don't know their names as we do Virtus Pro. Just seeing, yeah, you know what? I know what this is. This is exactly
Barry.
what we're used to. This is Barry. Hi, Barry.
Yeah. Nettie, sorry, we're naming your characters for you. Like, take it up with the bosses at Marvel, but you've got Feast of the Abyss diving in for Nevix. It feels, again, it's how conservative these teams have been, certainly on domination, to keep ultimates that they just don't need to use. But 6 ultimates on the side of Vice makes me think that this is going to be a hell of a battle.
Invisible Boundary trying to keep the team topped up. Knuten dropped low, trying to get into the Invisible Boundary themselves, but they are able to stay up. That Horde of Proteus for Oligathor is at the ready to try go for the counter play. Here it comes into the backline, but it's sidestepped beautifully by Virtus Pro. Finds absolutely nothing. A total bot has to be used now. Vice are burning everything to try and create some momentum into the backline as the Invisible Boundary comes out from Sidebay to give them that sustain. It's Jeff still at the ready to shenanigans, keeping the team topped up as Lugi is forced to wrap around, being chased down by Sparker. Relentless pressure from the Star-Lord.
Everything the Vice had was pretty much used. It's just that Meteor M the Missouri had, but they get eliminated. It's going to have to be a little bit longer before you can use it up. Rage of Ultron for Knuten might be helpful, but there's just not enough people alive to even contest the point. They all jumped through the teleport to try to live through the Galactic Legend. So first point taken for Virtus Pro. Again, it felt like it was measured, approached nicely. Vice threw whatever they could in that final fight, but it still wasn't good enough. But they still have at least that Meteor M to go into this next engagement. The problem, however, is that Virtus Pro have 3 ultimates of their own.
Yep, I have a Gamoto, Feast of the Abyss.
1 death.
And still, it's Jeff. Fi has yet not used that the entire time they've started. Yeah, literally only Fi has gone down here. On the other side, again, the only person who has a final hit is Oleg. Everyone else 3 times, 2 times. It's just a little bit. It's what a lot of people going into this would have expected. Virtus Pro, they are a more experienced team. Vice have only just come together, but they're trying to show what they can do. But so far, Virtus Pro, this is what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, but it's also like 8k damage done by Oleg, and you've got that team up with Hulk, so it's like a lot of damage that's been done. But it's just that Virtus Pro are so well positioned, and they're running triple strategist for one, but they're able to just farm up the strategist ultimate so quickly. So it's a little bit of a downside for Vice to be outputting that much damage and not get eliminations. You're just feeding the backline.
Portal rollout to make sure that they can try and get someone on Vice. Nice and early eye of Agamotto, Lugia, Knuten, Zuri, Horde of Proteus when they attempted a turnaround, but they've actually sustained through this Meteor M. It's Jeff to try and grab someone. Oleg is going to be absolutely kidnapped. Going to try and take them towards the edge of the map to at least get them out of here. Do they have that aquatic blessing? No, they don't. They go down. But the point is going to be picked up by Virtus Pro as they once again get another slightly staggered team wipe.
Yeah, I like the place that Vice took that fight, and the Meteor M was really well positioned for Missouri, but you just saw Thinzy just having to backtrack. He's played like vanguards, like main tanks with shields for so long. He knows how to position against those kind of threats. And for Virtus Pro now, it's just sitting pretty. You've used a good amount of ultimates in these past couple of engagements. You've got your strategist backline sat on 2 of the main ones to keep yourself good. But it's the fact that Sparker's farming these Galactic Legends so quickly that's going to feel really good for them now that they hit 20%.
They're already charged up, like you said. They're holding the point effectively. They have a Fate of both worlds. They have Invisible Boundary, all the defensive tools. But Ken, Invisible Boundary at the ready as well. Baby Bat, that she has that Eternal Bond here for the extra stain. Oleg taken out once again. Galactic Legend, one by one. Invisible Boundary does actually allow them to sustain on through and take out Sparker. It's going to be a 1-for-1. And if Vice is going to do anything, now would be the time.
Yeah, look at Canoe and just hovering over the battle. You do get the Fate of both worlds out from Tritro. And that Eye of Agamotto only catches onto one. Baby Bat that was using the Eternal Bond set might have even interrupted it before you could get too much going for it. But that's two of the Strategist Ultimates used at the same time. Rageabletron has concluded and ended with a pick onto Sparker. But there's still, like, it's not only the fact that Vice are getting the picks, but look how much progression they're making onto actually taking this objective away from Virtus.pro. It's pretty much next to none.
Meteor M going to be blocked out completely, not finding any targets as they're holding on to the point. Missouri is trying to get onto the Strange to at least take someone off the board. The Gamma Squid's doing some damage, but they just can't get in. Here comes the It's Jeff. If they can remove people off the point here, it's a triple trying to get off the side here. Fi going to be taking them through the portal. They have their own teammate. There we go. And there we go. 1, 2. Only 2. Third one is actually able to get out. Well, it's Spider-Man delay.
Yeah, but it was pretty much just a one-touch thing. Oh, Virtus.pro. It's the way that they play around the objective. I feel like a broken record with talking about how good this team is at doing it, but when they are able to do it that consistently, it feels insurmountable for any team to deal with them. And Vice, it was always going to be tough. You're up against not only a Virtus.pro that is not very keen on losing, but also lost and is very, very mad about it from the last stage. At least you're able to get a couple more like eliminations, but it goes from 1 on the first point to 4 total.
Again, the damage output, you look at it, Oleg did keep up and actually has the highest damage output in the game. Knudsen was a little bit further behind them and actually got 3 final hits by the end of that round, but it's just not enough. Virtus.pro, they've been playing together since Season 0 and it shows. They've been cooking since before the mid-season finals because they've had all of that time to just try and work out, try and build with new strategies, new stuff. Now the Jeff appearing for them for one of the first times. And this is one of the scariest Virtus.pros we've seen. We've already seen them in the MRC take down Chopped, and now against the other new team of Vice, they are showing just how scary they are. 1-0 up already.
I think it says a lot too. Like, no roster changes. The org hasn't dropped them. Everybody seems to be happy with the course that Virtus.pro have been on. But it is that case of like, my God, being a fly in the room in that Virtus.pro conversation after they didn't qualify and just being like, okay, where did we go wrong? Like, we need to stop this like crap from happening again. You know what I mean? Like, we need to make sure that we don't make these same mistakes because it's frustrating to be so good up until that final moment. So this Virtus.pro team, I don't think they're going to take any prisoners so far, and Vice are unfortunately the first name on that list to cross off for them as they make their way up the bracket.
I don't remember which player it was, but one of the Virtus.pro players after the MRC that we cast together, they tweeted out just like, I way prefer this ban system to the Ignite
No doubt. Yeah, you haven't lost on it.
Kind of shows for Virtus.pro. They've still not lost on that ban system, but it certainly is obvious that they've taken the time to cook on this new one. Since stage 1, their drafts have evolved so drastically, and we still have at least minimum 1 more map to see more, potentially 2 if Vice are able to bring it back. So don't go anywhere. Can Virtus.pro close it out, or will Vice begin to tighten and take us to a map number 3? Find out after this.
The script for these kind of games, Tetra, I think for Virtus Pro tends to be a little bit quiet, I suppose. It's a pretty emphatic, like, first point domination win for them, as expected. And much like we've seen today, Vice have the chance to take us to a map of their choice, but much like we've seen, it's typically ended in 2-0s all day today.
It really has, although we have seen several opportunities where teams have very nearly made it back into series. We have yet to see our first 2-1 in EMEA, but we've got a little close from time to time. The question is, do Vice have what it takes to be the first team to do that versus Virtus Pro, a team that you can probably count the amount of maps total that they have dropped on one hand?
Yeah, it's every time I think about it, I'm just like, why? I almost feel bad for just keep harping on like Virtus Pro being like always the bridesmaid, never the bride, but there isn't much to really lament about them, frankly. It's a squad that has just pretty much always won, and then suddenly, when it matters, stopped winning, and we're still trying to work out why. But if you go for the king, you better not miss, and quite frankly, some of the teams against the king of Virtus Pro have connected nicely. I just don't know if Vice have enough about them to do it, but taking them to Midtown, traumatic maybe for Virtus Pro as a map.
Very much so. This is a map that means a lot to them, and a lot of that comes from Burbur Patapim, aka Citadel Gaming nowadays, from last season. Go back and watch that series, by the way. It was spectacular. But looking at this draft phase we head on in, we immediately start to see some more Vanguards being targeted in the ban phases. Of course, Spawn Hold becomes a little bit more viable, but Adam sneaking through so quickly.
I'm not surprised, really. Whilst Vice aren't defending first, it's a play to go for, and you do have the protection of, like, basically being able to ban out the Adam Warlock, so only one side's going to get it. And it's interesting to see that Virtus Pro have not only protected the Invisible One, which they've done a little bit, but just going for such an aggressive, like, non-mirrored pick and ban, right? Like, even when the Invisible One was a lot stronger with the ultimate, it felt you wouldn't go that aggressive, but I guess it makes sense.
Virtus Pro getting the Adam Warlock taken away from them. This is a big Sparker hero who used to play incredibly effective on it. Honestly, I'm sure Vice have a better plan than what I'm about to say here, but at this point, I feel like Vice could, in theory, just ban out Doctor Strange and just try and minimize the amount of times they have to fight Virtus Pro. Make it so you only have to win one fight instead of 2 or 3. Because you've already taken away Adam, so you have a chance of capitalizing on that.
Pretty much. We were like, oh yeah, it's a change of pace with Vanguard's been the first bans, and then it's just been exclusively strategists. Part of me is hoping that we've got Daredevil coming in the future, that they just do this pivot. Suddenly he's a strategist instead of evidently looking like a duelist. He could be anything at this rate, but I think that's the general trend. But yeah, it's strategists have been hit hard at this kind of draft system, and no surprise really when running multiple of them. It's as strong as it is. That's why we have a draft system and it isn't just free reign, because good grief.
Mantis protected, Ultron banned immediately, because if Mantis is in the game, you really don't want Ultron to be hyper powerful. Getting those Encephalo rays damage boosted means you're getting pinged from the sky. Don't give Sparker stuff that hits cans and blows people up fast. So here we go, heading on in with the Lunar Adam protection versus the Mantis Invis. It is certainly a strategist season.
Yeah, and with all of the bans going on to strategists, again, I know he was nerfed, but Loki just being not part of that is something else. I would...
Yeah.
Is that a... Drake have Lord Mr. Fantastic?
I believe he does.
Why?
Why not?
as me as a Mr. Fantastic player, there's like 4 of us, but like... He just must have been bored one day and was like, you know what? What character's at the bottom of every like tier list of like potential options at the moment? Let's go lord this guy.
Maybe he's just a really big fan of Pedro Pascal.
I mean, that's true for everybody, I think.
100%.
Maybe it's just the aesthetic of the map as well, being able to pull it out of just Midtown. I also feel like it's a map that I feel just teams avoided like the plague. It was played a lot in stage 1, but even stuff like MRC and mid-season finals, I think that this was avoided because of how egregious that stalling can be. And it's going to be Virtus Pro probably showing Vice how it's done to an extent of trying to play this, but they're still going for the Jeff, and they're still going for whether they coined it or not, a triple Vanguard, triple strategist on these payload maps.
On the other side, though, Siege Break. We have the Storm, and we have the Moon Knight, and we have Angela. We talked about it on the other side. Displace the defenders.
That's such a quick ult.
Play. The ult is already down. Oleg is taken down, but Nevix falls as well. But the difference is BRB brings back Nevix so quickly. Oleg, though, next to their spawn, can also reinforce and make their way back in. The question is, can this Angela find any targets? Lugia, they are one of the players who showed what they can do, being part of a solo Vanguard composition once in order to allow them onto the Wolverine. They've got some experience with this.
Newton's gonna have almost 2 ultimates in 1 minute.
There it is.
He's got another 50 seconds and he's farmed up 2 ultimates. That's horrible. Like, I'm just... Oh, I needed like a cold shower after seeing this, and then like the other Warlock. That's 2 ults in a minute. That is greedy, and it's still not going. It's still not working. It's still not working.
Barker's on the hunt, on the rocket. We saw this in MRC, the rabid rocket hunting people down. Missouri falls, and even with all of this pressure, Vice can't seem to break it. Lugia has moved off the Angela and onto the Thorn to try and isolate people and also siege a little bit of range as well. Also retreat down to the low ground. Nevix has straggling prison waiting for the flank. Here comes the Omega Hurricane. Oleg looking for the target. There comes the straggling prison. Looks for a Sharknado, but reversed, attacking the Jeff with it. Aya Nakamoto comes on out, and what's the defense left? Baby Bat falls to Sparker, and everyone else is slowly melting. Knudsen has moved over to that Iron Man just for something to siege with.
I saw Alligator switch over to Spider-Man and then back to Storm for like a brief second, see if he can maybe like pull somebody in, I think. But yeah, Virtus Pro haven't felt too stressed out. Aya Nakamoto is going to be used in the dive down for the It's Jeff is going to be in play for Dreydro. Seeing who he can connect to, 2 of each. He spat out the allies and seeing if he can drag the enemies into some of these like just cruel corners. And yeah, Wolverine wanted to try to fight a little bit more backed into the corner. Can't really do too much. Most of the time for Vice has been gone, and it's only 50 meters moved forward outside of the main headquarters of Fantastic Four.
On the half minutes down, Knudsen on this Iron Man in order to try and bomb that shark, to try and stop it from stealing people later on as they make their way forward. The Eternal Bond has been activated. It's the commitment coming out, but the Cosmic Guard Amplifier from Sparker has kept the team topped up. Dreydro dropped low, straggling prison already available. Nevix falls, brought back to the BRB, which means Cyber does not return. It's finally Vice. They're breaking through one by one, and while Angela's been abandoned, Wolverine is still Wolverine.
It's a good adjustment. It was like the 3rd character that Lugia wanted to switch over to, but better late than never. Able to at least break that first point hold and get a little bit more space on the point. And Virtus Pro may be thinking that, like, we had still a lot of ultimates to work with. Like, could that fight have gone a little bit better for us? But they're not going to matter too much. They bought so much time. They've wasted so much of resources for Vice. But it's more the case of, like, dealing with what's next. Do you expect them to have 3 ultimates, all 3 duelists ready to go with? And the Aya Nakamoto mostly doesn't catch much. The Invisible Boundary is going to allow these stuns and these connections from Vice to find a little bit more. But it still feels that Virtus Pro are able to engage on this one and actually able to get the picks themselves.
Another 2-cap jet, Groot Wall to trap him, and it's another elimination. Dreydro is hungry. 9 seconds to go. Ken has been the one to swap over to the Strays. They're going to try and portal in, but if Dreydro can interrupt with the knockback, no, they take out the shark. He was trying to interrupt it with the knockback to prevent that portal coming, but they were able to catch him. Cypher falls. Suddenly, the numbers once again, and in the opportunity to try and stop this, Virtus Pro may have been of more than they can chew, Jeff, pun intended. And Vice, in overtime, are giving everything they can. Wolverine not finding the target, Nevix onto the point to try and hold this. It's the last-ditch effort. The fate of both worlds to delay, to buy time, as it's already a double coming in for Virtus Pro.
It's just an absolute brawl for both sides, and that strangling prison for Nevix is pretty much on the horizon. How many It's Jeffs have we seen? Aya Nakamoto gets onto 2, but it's mostly the Vanguards, and Nevix is on 1 HP. How is he still alive? He's able to get going. Oh, it's to be right back. He did get eliminated, but it was just showing up on the UI differently. And we'll delete the VOD of this map, I think, Tetcher, because some of the stuff that we've been like it was a nice attempt, but I don't think it could have backfired worse for Virtus Pro.
This is diabolical. Everything we've seen has been maximum chaos and maximum fun. Vice have just said, you know what, meta sucks. We hate it. We're going to swap to what's going to work in this scenario, no matter what's good. The Iron Man is working out. They had Oligator on the Spider-Man to reinforce to the point. Swaps over to the Magic. They don't even have the Doctor Strange for the team up. They're just giving it everything they can anyway for maximum backline dive to try and take out that triple strategist setup here.
Oh, it's pure whimsy from both sides, but the adjustments have come in for Virtus Pro to change things around a little bit. You've got the Venom, you've got the Phoenix now in play for Sparker. And Finzi able to take Knuten out of the sky. He's been on this character for a fair while and does have the ultimate to boot, but I guess just this horseshoe to get stuck on is the worst possible thing to really break any forward momentum that Vice were making. And especially with less than 90 seconds, sure, you have more time than you had when you were pushing in OT, but how do you get past Virtus Pro with this setup and with these ultimates in the back pocket?
Knuten just made a heck of a sacrifice, and you know what? It's worth it. They swapped off of Iron Man fully charged. The Iron Man ult is very hard to land, very hard to hit, because it is so telegraphed and it is a single ball, especially when there's a Magneto in the game. In this case, they decided to sacrifice half an ult charge for an Adam Warlock, someone who has the extra sustain from that soul bond, which is immediately available for them, and someone who can build up towards another ultimate and has a free revive so that they can try and sustain the long term. A sacrifice in the short term for a better long-term sustain as Knuten takes out Sparker, winning the hit scan duel. Here comes the dive. Oleg into the backline to try and make something happen, but Invisible Boundary is sustaining them through it.
I mean, that was actually really well played from Saipei. The ultimate, the force physics, just a knockback to keep things going for Vice. As Fate of Both Worlds is going to be used from Baby Bats. There's so much for Vice to actually be working with here. They've pretty much knocked down all of the ultimates that Virtus Pro were comfortably sat on. Now it's not necessarily a comfortable fight, but there's more ultimates in rotation and cycling. Nevix especially has the Feast of the Abyss. You've got that Soul Resurgence from Tridro that's about to be ready. And Vice just not getting the eliminations. Now at least that's something. Getting the Venom before the ultimate can even be used. I think the voice line was even echoed for a second, but he's just able to go down beforehand. Meteor Emperor Zero not only able to get a pick, but he forces everybody else back. You've got the Jeff trying to grab whatever they can, but he goes down. And it feels like just in the last-ditch attempt, this is pure cinema, and these last cliffhanger moments are actually going the way of Vice consistently.
If Vi had been able to get that It's Jeff onto Knuten, they could have removed the revives and maybe turned it around, but taking out Jeff removed even more healing off the point. The overtime is ticking down. Spiral Girl is watching invested as they try to hold onto the point. Venom forced to swing away as everyone is full reinforcement, full hyper push right now. We still have that Endsong Inferno into the Media M from Virtus Pro. If they can get Vice grouped up, then they might be able to pick him off before overtime ticks down. Knuten is dropping low. They need to find a position where they can karmic revive just in case it drops low. The Eternal Bond from Ken to hold the line. Endsong, Media to blow him up in one fell swoop. Logia manages to delay everything they can. Right on the point. It's taken down. No resurrections this time. And Virtus Pro shut down Vice.
I've had enough. It's got a little bit too out of hand in the end. And whimsical, the music as well, just at the end of the map with the OT, the operatic singer, it couldn't have been better placed with some of these fights between these two squads. Was it probably a lot messier than it should have been from Virtus Pro? Probably. Was it entertaining as all hell? Absolutely. Like, that was some of the most crazy stuff, seeing the magic in play, the backwards and forwards. It's the kind of performance that you want at the end of a day, I think, of like day one of Ignite. It's just, okay, both teams hopefully leave this one going, this was fun as hell.
Yeah, but this is the opportunity for Vice. Look at what they have available. Adam Warlock, Loki, Strange. They have the ultimate holding potential. Knuten, by the way, has 10 final hits, the most in the game. Just putting on some performance, really helping their team recover from that very rough first set push. But this, honestly, Vice, I think they're in a position to take this. They have literally every tool that they could possibly need. A pretty solid push. If they don't take this, then Virtus Pro, I just don't know who can.
Yeah, it's considering what we just saw, the eliminations for both sides just seems to be so little, but it is just the amount of like stall, the focus on adjusting to the characters that you're playing too. It feels a little bit like we're playing bingo to get all of the characters in the server at this point, because now the Thing is in play over from Lugia.
So a little bit of
Finzy's on 4.
He's bringing it out. They want to make sure they can try and snipe flyers and isolate people. Any of these Vanguards from out of position. Nevic's trying to separate people with those group walls. Thornlash for extra damage and to block line of sight onto the strategist, but there's just so much healing right now coming in from Vice. That triple strategist lineup up on the high ground. Finzy is trying to find anyone out of position. Awakening Rune to siege in from above. Put the pressure. That's a big isolation onto what the Adam Warlock is forced to back away, but Fi will be the first to fall.
Sparker is almost just suppressive fire in the back, just farming up this ultimate as much as he can, and if he can get there just before the strategists, hell, I mean, if he can get there before Knudsen with a Karmic Revival, these picks that are just coming from these neutral engagements might be enough. It's just too much damage, even without ultimates being a consideration for Vice to deal with. You've got Oligator that has managed to grab up the Meteor M, but everybody's just gone down. You've got one good fight potentially, maybe two, because you have got the portal play in hand from Missouri. You have to imagine that Virtus Pro know what's about to happen. How are they going to try to stop this and keep things growing on this gravy train?
That's why it's a very sensible position here that Vice have put the portal up on the high ground. They don't want to take a direct fight because they need to make sure that Knudsen builds up the ultimate. Ken already going in for an ultimate. Eye of Agamotto to try and take them down. Sparker eliminated during ult. Oleg Media M. Ken with Karmic Revival from the God of Mischief keeps Vice on the point, buying more time while Knudsen holds on to theirs. Fi is on the flank trying to find anyone out of position. Knudsen has to stay safe. They are the one key that can keep this going with Omega Hurricane. It's taken down. Karmic Rival comes out. Knudsen falls, but they can revive themselves. It's just in time. The fight keeps going. Eternal Bond from Baby Matt to delay this even longer.
It's still Virtus Pro, nobody's gone down, and whilst you've got the Eternal Bond that's allowed some space, a bit of a runway for Vice to run onto the objective, it means that people are split out. You could sort of see that it's almost like two separate groups of Vice players on this attacking defensive side, being broken apart potentially. Nevix with the Strangler Prison might want to pull them all the way back in. Invisible Boundary just on the cusp too is going to help Virtus Pro clean up house as and when needed, and Vice just don't have the steam. They don't have the ultimate and Eye of Agamotto, but that's not really there with the follow-through, and Sparker almost has another final judgment just in case it was needed, frankly, Tetcher.
4 fights is not enough. Nevik says no, 4 is enough. Just sets up the wall. They're done with this. Make sure that no one can rush back to the point with any of the fast characters. It's all about just securing this first push. And Vice, even with literally everything in their favor, they can't halt Virtus Pro on point 1. So now it's all about point 2. Down goes Knudsen. Eye of Agamotto, but Zuri falls for it. Virtus Pro are about to get so much free space, Ryan.
I think you saw that Oligator go down to low HP. Was it Missouri? Somebody got picked off a lot earlier in that fight before ultimates were even expended, and then suddenly Sparker's like, all right, yep, final judgment time. Gonna turn this one surprise pick into an actual team fight 1. And Vice still got a while to wait before you're gonna see that portal back in play, but it's gonna be used in this next engagement after this one. It's Virtus Pro just sat on so much as well. Omega Hurricane's going to be the thing, and it's going right into that backline, carving through everybody, and before Vice can even the nerds can fire to realize what's going on, it's done. They're not going to have anybody to touch.
They're using the Eternal Bond to just buy every extra second, but with 6 people targeting you, no one is close. Oligator tries to swing in, but cannot reach Virtus Pro with 2 minutes 38 to go, are able to claim map number 2, and they will move on in the upper bracket.
It's been all 2-0s across the board, and yeah, the general gist has been the teams that did well last stage playing against new faces, new orgs, new like roster moves. It's the team that was typically very good, looking strong. I guess the most surprising element was just how much of a circus that map was. It was entertaining. I wouldn't say it was badly played by either side. It was just 2 ultimates from the Moon Knight, from Knudsen, the nice attempt, I suppose, of the Jeff stall that just ends a little bit weirdly. and just the musical chairs of all of the heroes in play. You can't say that this meta is boring with all of the characters that we saw over on this part of Midtown.
Big shout out to Fincy. We didn't get as much of a chance to talk about it because so much was happening. But bringing out the Thor, oh my god, that wall to block, by the way. But bringing out the Thor with the Storm to use the God of Thunder to give enough damage. It's kind of like the Psylocke Venom combo, to do enough damage to ensure that the Omega Hurricane gets the finishing blow and to stun them at the end with the new upgrade to that God of Thunder means that they could go for these quick blow-ups, utilizing that combo on everyone in the backline and to capitalize on maximum duration of Omega Hurricane. Beautifully executed by Virtus Pro on their strategy that, well, we didn't see coming.
I gotta say, there was some good stuff from Vice as well. Like, Oligator, the Meteor M that he had, where he's got the Final Judgment, like, straight at him, and he just uses the Meteor M. It obviously farms up all of the bullets thrown at him, and he just... Meteor M instantly throws it, instantly gets the elimination because of how much damage that Final Judgment is throwing out, and just is able to trade himself and stop that ult from getting too much more. It is small bits and pieces like that that, like, it's not enough to turn the map in any meaningful way for Vice, but it shows that, like, this isn't a team that you sort of watch and go, okay, yeah, this feels like a 0 and 2, like in their bracket, we're not going to see much of them. I can see this Vice team warming up to the occasion a bit more, like we saw from like Insomnia and even Zero Tenacity back in stage 1. There is a chance for this team, I think, to, now that they've got that beating down, able to dust themselves off and move up through the lower bracket potentially.
It's about as worst possible first round draw as you can come up with going for any team, but performing that well in round number 2, showing that they have what it takes, especially in that drafting style, seems to, at minimum, is going to put the fear for a lot of other teams to take them to any spawn hold maps, which unfortunately is most convoy maps, meaning it's going to be very difficult to actually draft against Vice. So they've shown what they can do here, and now they've had that experience, like you say, they have the chance to recover. But Virtus Pro, they have shown that they have evolved. We're going to be talking to Fincy about it, who will be joining us here from Virtus Pro. For starters, congratulations on that win, is a sentence that I'm sure you're getting very used to throughout your Marvel Rivals experience here. Let's talk about the fact of how many different characters you guys play compared to what we've seen in previous seasons. How much work have you guys been putting into expanding the hero pool?
I mean, since last Ignite, we've been grinding really hard since we messed it up big time last time. So we want to make sure it doesn't happen again. So yeah, we've been practicing new heroes, new strats, new everything.
Because of talking about stage 1, just narrowly missing out on Chengdu and stuff, you didn't make any roster moves, but I imagine that, like, you guys, Blaney, like everybody from Virtus Pro sat down, words must have been said, right? But you guys to make no changes to go like, okay, we want to continue with this. But you must have had to have sat down and gone, we need to stop screwing this up. What was that for you? Because some people would say it was the draft system, like, took you a little while to get used to it. You're sort of saying about, like, the flexibility there from stage 1. What was the thing that you guys sat down and went, we need to fix this really badly, we can't keep making this mistake, that you've now fixed for stage 2?
I mean, the draft system, yeah, we were struggling a bit with it. We were much better on the other draft system where it's just mirror matches and we just outplayed everyone. But now it's like we have to get used to different matchups and stuff. And yeah, we need to become more flexible, especially me and Nevix on the tanks, or me. I had to learn more tanks so we could run more comps. And I think just everyone learned new heroes. You will see way more heroes as the tournament goes on. We have practiced a lot of them. But yeah, no roster changes because we think everyone played well. We just messed it up as a team. So we just have to become better as a team, and I think we have done that.
For sure. Sorry, I wanted to piggyback off what you were saying about, like, changing the roles, because usually you are like the shield vanguard, like the main tank almost, right? But I have seen you move over to play stuff like Emma Frost, and even like Nevix move over towards playing, like, almost swapping the characters that you typically play. Like, is that sort of like, because Nevix is so flexible, he's more likely to change what vanguard he's on, whereas if you play Emma Frost, you're typically going to stay on them no matter what. You don't want to have to awkwardly adjust, right?
Yeah. Since if you have Emma Frost, you usually stay on that through the entire match, and then you have the other tank like swapping if you need. And I also learned the Captain America and Thor because we have like different playstyles on it. We both played, but we have different playstyles and different like comm structure. So I think it's just good that both tanks can play almost all the tanks in the game. So you can do different things.
I'm immediately going to dive in here and ask about Thor. It's a character we've sort of seen hover on the peripheries of being played, and then it's sort of played for a bit and then usually dropped by whoever plays it. You just ran it for a whole round and absolutely popped off on it. Tell us about Thor. Where do they fit into the meta? What's actually changed to allow them to make their way in here?
Thor just does a lot of damage, and he has good survivability, and he can displace tanks very easily. So especially in like a spawn camp where they're playing a lot of tanks, you can melt them down with the storm damage boost and everything, and you can displace them from their high grounds and stuff. And then they buffed his ultimate, and he's just become a bit better. He's not like super good, but he still works against certain comps and if certain tanks are banned.
I mean, there's plenty to go over. I think the final thing that I just wanted to ask is, like, I feel like we've been in this position so often, and like with Nevix, especially in interviews, I feel like we ask questions that he's like, I don't want to answer that because I don't want to give it away. It must be like frustrating to be in your position of like, okay, you weren't able to like sort of third place finish in stage one, you're just dominant otherwise, pretty much never lose. But that everybody's going to be watching how you do the draft and how you answer these interviews and stuff. Like, no doubt there's Na'Vi players watching this, no doubt there's Citadel players watching this. What have you got to say to them, I suppose, right? Because everybody's still watching what you guys are doing, despite you almost being overtaken for not missing out on mid-season finals and stuff, right? Like, it's tricky. It must suck and be frustrating, no?
I mean, I try to not say too much because Tritro is not happy when we hear strats in interviews. But I mean, we just have so many, so even if we talk about few of them, we always have like way more that we are keeping hidden.
Very cool. Well, thank you very much, Fincy, for joining us. Your next match is going to be against Alcancia, so we'll let you go get prepared for that, as you've got more coming up on, I believe, Saturday is when those games will be. So best of luck. Go get yourself rested.
Thank you.
And that is beginning to become the end for us today as well, Ryan, as that was our final series of the day. And for once, we don't get to say, go watch the Americas games after this, because they start next week. So those of you who are waiting for those, just bear in mind, next week is when Americas and OCE will be starting. So we'll get to see after the incredible mid-season finals performance. I'm sure a lot more people will be watching for the OCE games. Here is the bracket as it stands in Group A, with Citadel Gaming versus Chopped, a matchup we've yet to see.
I mean, it's really the only team from the top one